a man's gunning for me tonight. I spent the last week running from the heat, but the beat's coming alive. Let's get lost tonight. Lord, who's on my right?
Wow, that was good timing, Mike. Mike ran out of the room and was back by the time that he needed to put me on. Hi, guys. Just adjusting my microphone. Ooh, that sounds crispy and nice. Welcome to Without a Country. Hello. We are pre-recording this, obviously, because we're not live streaming on Christmas Eve. But it is Monday, December 22nd, if you are keeping tabs. So anything that happens after Monday, December 22nd, we don't know about yet because it is the future. Hello. Merry Christmas Eve to those who celebrate. Hope you guys had a happy Hanukkah, even though it was a pretty gruesome day one, pretty gruesome start to Hanukkah. I hope the rest of the Hanukkah was more peaceful for everyone who celebrates. And got to look up the dates for Kwanzaa. Wait 1 second. Kwanzaa 2025. Kwanzaa starts the day after Christmas. It starts on Friday, December 26th this year. So happy Kwanzaa as well. And it goes to Thursday, January 1st. Okay, cool. Mike, should I start by opening the gift that you gave me? Mike left a gift on the table. So I was kind of excited. I was not expecting this.
Okay, so
cool.
To be fair, I feel it's a little awkward because this was for sure purchased for your birthday and did not arrive in time, and then you were in Tokyo, and then it completely slipped my mind until I saw it like 3 days, maybe like a week ago.
That
and
happens
I went
to the best of us.
You know what? Wrap it up in Christmas paper. Now it's a twofer.
Okay. Well, you know what? I wouldn't even have remembered that you didn't give me a birthday present until you just reminded me right now. Nor do I expect a birthday present.
Yeah, but listen, this actual thought went into this.
I remember you being excited about it now that you have jogged my memory.
I checked in with 4 people in your life to be like, hey, does Corinne have this? And all of them said no.
I would love to even know who the 4 people are. I mean, I'm guessing my boyfriend, Christina, and then 2 other people. Who?
Your doctor friend?
My doctor friend?
Yes.
Who's my doctor friend? Like a medical doctor?
Yes, your friend who's a doctor.
Oh, my therapist.
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
I don't think of him as my doctor friend. My best friend, Tommy.
I don't know.
I didn't even know you guys were in connection. And then who else?
I'll be honest with you. I took a nasty spill before this episode started. My knee is about twice the size it normally is. There's a chance I'm going to need surgery on Christmas.
Oh my God. He's here. His daughter's here. This is going to be a chaotic episode.
This is rough.
Okay. All right. I was trying to unwrap this neatly, but there's really no need for that. I just was worried that so it is a frame.
Yeah, I'm going to warn you, probably going to need a better frame at some point.
Okay, well, I like this frame because this is the kind of frame that you win when you like win a picture down the shore on like a wheel. So I actually like this. Oh, wow. Rocky Horror Picture Show autographed by Little Nell. Patricia. So this is Colombia. This is Magenta. And then is this Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick?
Yes, ma'am.
I was like, I can't read this one, but I'm guessing it's Barry Bostwick and that's Susan Sarandon. Very cool.
All the ladies of the film. I looked high and low.
If this is Barry Bostwick's the man.
No, I know, but it's the 3 main ladies.
Yeah.
I was looking for those 3 and Tim Curry on one. I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, because none of these are Tim, right? I have tons of Tim stuff. I have a mold of his face.
But I wanted to
cool.
from everything I looked up, that's like an original theatrical run poster of Rocky Horror that got signed by all the people, and there's some kind of authentication thing on the back.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not obviously
in the frame.
From the frame.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I don't have any. I have lots of Rocky Horror stuff, but I don't have any with these autographs on it. This is sick.
Hell yeah.
I love this, and this is so great. I think this frame is fine, honestly.
Yeah?
I think I'll keep it in this frame. It's nice and thin. You know, you don't need a bunch of heavy stuff on your wall.
I like it.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Tommy would be the best to know if I had, he knows my memorabilia collection the best because he's also a collector. We had one in the store, but I don't think it was signed by anyone or at best one person, I think. Thank you. You're welcome. Beautiful. I think I sold it to somebody anyway. This is so cool. I love this. Oh, Patricia's the best. She's the funniest storyteller. Oh my God. I've seen her in a bunch of times. Patricia Quinn. She's like one of the funniest people. She should do stand-up comedy, honestly. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. That was so thoughtful.
Of course. Merry Christmas and
thank you.
Happy birthday. I am still like I was explaining to you when you walked in. I'm still karmically very heavily indebted to you as far as the gifts we have exchanged over the years.
Presents are not supposed to.
I understand.
Create a debt between friends.
I'm just saying you've been very generous to me over the years.
Yeah,
so
but it's
I'm
also.
very.
But it's also depending on what financial state one person is in, I just enjoy giving people things that I think they would like. That's it. I mean, I posted on Instagram yesterday that I was when I don't have an idea for someone or, gift wise or something, and I have to get them something, there's no, few pains more excruciating for me than that. But when I have an idea and I'm excited and I can afford whatever it is that I want to get the person. Oh, I love that. Nothing better. All right. Well, Merry Christmas to everyone who is watching. Let's get right into it. Real quick up top. Today, if you're watching today, so December 24th, Christmas Eve, this is your last day to pre-order from the merch collection from Without a Country. I've been posting about it, so hopefully you got everything you wanted. But if you get, some extra Christmas money or Hanukkah money or Kwanzaa money or whatever it is, or you just want to treat yourself for the new year and have something exciting be showing up in January, please pick up your merch now, and it'll be to you in the new year. Again, I created this entire line with Joe Frontel, who's a great graphic designer, does a lot of work with a lot of great comedians, and I just love how it turned out. And you can, shop on the link in my bio on Linktree, or we'll put it in the show notes as well. And then the New Year's Eve ticket link is officially live. That's 6 p.m. December 31st. We have a really, really great lineup. I'm so excited. It is me, Chloe LeBranch, Christina Hutchinson, Ryan Long, Adrian Appalucci, Lev Fur, AJ Giro, and Eric Freddy. So it's a lot of the same. Then I try to get some, amazing person who's never been on the show before. So this year it's Adrian Appalucci. If you've never seen her before, she is so, so, so funny.
She's the one comic all the other comics stick around in the room for. Yeah,
she's just so funny. I think it's crazy, honestly, that she's not more famous. She did have a Netflix special come out.
The Dark Queen.
That was this year, right?
I think it was last year.
It was last year, and she's opened for Louis C.K., and she's just a really, if you love dark humor, and this is, my show is called Corinne Fisher's Morbid New Year's Eve. I love the amount of times I've watched her and the audience is just gasping. I think she is just the best dark joke writer in the game right now. She's a really, really great comedian. So that's a treat to have her on the show. And then let's get into Patreon. Thank you so much to our amazing dictator for a wonderful year, Christopher Fungi. Thanks to my capitalist pigs and my cuties. You guys have been amazing supporters all year to the show, and I couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Our enemy of the state this week. I mean, there was a lot to choose from. I like to choose someone, maybe not the most evil person in the world. I like to do it a little more pop culture. So this week's enemy of the state is Nicki Minaj. And Can you are we allowed to play this tiny clip? She did an interview with Erika Kirk on stage this week. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's a little bit nonsensical, but I mean, we had Erika Kirk with the slip up of referring to her late husband Charlie as a grifter.
No, she said this new guy's gonna keep the grift going.
Yeah, on mic. And wait, what word did she mean to even say?
So grift? it was like gifted and gritty.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess so she said that, and then Nicki Minaj, who just
is it Nicki Minaj responds to backlash over.
Yeah, and Nicki Minaj doesn't even seem to be on this planet anymore, and that used to be like the fun selling point of Nicki Minaj. Like, LOL, she has 18 personalities, and she has a costume and a song for everyone, and we all loved it. And now we're like, does Nicki Minaj actually have some kind of a mental disorder? She just seems like she's like disassociating a bit, or is like drugged, or I don't know what's happening, but it's very weird. I will say her extensions look incredible though. so silky. What a keratin treatment on this woman. And so there's no audio on that, but she's basically just saying that she doesn't pay attention to her haters, but obviously she does. Like, if you have a response prepared
what
for
is your reaction to that?
I didn't notice.
Amen. I feel the same way.
It's her reaction to the haters. The faces she's
like,
making.
What do you think about them? I'm like, I don't think about them.
Yet you do.
We don't even think about them.
We don't have time to.
You're talking about them right now.
Yeah, we're the cool kids.
Okay.
The other people, they're the ones who are still just disgruntled, but really they're just disgruntled with themselves. They are angry with themselves, you guys. So you can't wake up and think about somebody who is determined.
This is a 43-year-old woman, by the way. She's a 43-year-old woman saying we're the cool kids and they're angry at themselves. And I actually do agree with the sentiment that most people's behavior is because of the relationship they have with themselves. I don't think that people being mad at you for supporting the Trump administration after all it's done to people is us being mad at ourselves. I mean, I'm speaking of people we're not thinking about. I'm barely thinking about her. She's I'm just served a lot of Nicki Minaj content. I guess I seem like a person who would like Nicki Minaj, and that's not untrue as far as her catalog. But we've all moved on to Cardi B, and I mean, I know that there was a rivalry going on. Cardi B,
there still is.
Well, but she won that a long time ago and stays winning that. No, Cardi B.
They were literally going at each other 3 months ago.
But I'm saying, as far as who is on top of their game right now, who is relevant, who are we talking about, whose music do we like, who is in the good graces of many people?
Only one of those women has spent a literal decade on the Billboard charts every single year. The Barbs got Nicki.
Is she on the charts right now?
Yep, they got her back in right at the end of. I don't know why I'm so on Barb talk, but I do know that they got her over the line because her people really do show up.
Maybe that was that was her agreement with Trump. Maybe that was part of it.
Maybe, or it's just that she is you have to double down in one way or another to keep yourself relevant. And it's
unfortunately, I've noticed that, and I hate that because it's the antithesis of my personality. I mean, being a Libra, obviously, and I know that this show would perform so much better if I curated these crazy hot takes and just yelled into the ether. And I've thought about that, and I know it to be true, but I just can't bring myself to. And obviously, if there was something I really felt that passionately about, but I just can't do it. It's just not. I don't think it's helpful, first of all. And I don't want to anger people for no reason or separate people in an already, such a polarized political state right now. And it kills me because I know that's the thing that you need to do. And I wish that we would stop responding to it the way that we do so that we would stop taking in content like that. I think it sucks.
I don't know. I was listening to some guy the other day who was like, I did marketing and research for 20 years, and the old adage was that sex sells. And we believed that dating back to, the Mad Men of the 60s or whatever through like 2010.
Right.
But once we got access to the algorithm, we found that it's anger and like rage is actually what sells. That's actually what
sex
gets
sells
people
okay
engaged.
as someone who
It does. Sells great.
I have an apartment because of sex.
It's you would have a mansion on rage.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think
No,
that's the difference.
You're not wrong. And and it's also like, what Christine and I did, it wasn't like just just be like, oh, look at our tits or something. I mean, that would be rough for me, but we really like kind of explored it in a different way, but yeah, not anger. But I mean, I think there's part of sex, some people many people get very angry when people are sexually free because for whatever is inside them or however they were raised, they don't feel that freedom. And I think it really weighs on them. But you're right. Like, and it's funny because like out of all the emotions that I'm interested in, anger is the one I am least interested in. I'm like, I'm much more interested in sadness, to be honest. But
there is a definite like Sydney Sweeney's getting it worse than a not hot chick would be getting it. Like a not hot chick who isn't acting like a hot chick.
And it's so funny because like I just love a hot chick. Like, I'm not saying like I love, Sydney Sweeney's viewpoints or what she stands for, but it's like, why would I be thinking about what Sydney Sweeney stands for? Like, I don't want to know. And again, I think we've talked about it on here before, but it's like, yeah, some Republicans are going to be famous movie stars. And I honestly think that should be like, our movie stars shouldn't all be Democrats. That's weird. Like, that's really strange. We should see, it's whoever's pursuing it, there should be a mix of people. And it's so funny because we talk about DEI and diversity and stuff. And it's like, well, to me, when we talk about diversity, that includes diversity of political opinions, like I don't agree with a ton of religions, but it's like, I'm not going to like not see a movie because someone is, Catholic or something. And
Not
the
only
same
that,
goes for politics.
too many of these people are too rich for none of them to be Republicans.
Right, well,
it's like,
and that's the thing.
Half of them are secret Republicans anyway.
150,000%. And that's the thing that bothers me because I think a lot of people advocating for left-leaning ideals publicly are secretly voting or at least fraternizing with Republican ideals
or donating
people.
to.
100%. Yeah, and like it's like. Yeah, no, I'm not like gonna like, it's not like I want to put money in the pocket of people who think awful things or who voted for people, undocumented immigrants to be stripped away from their families. That's disgusting. And I, hope these people have time to reflect on that. But I think that we should have, all kinds of people in the spotlight. And then that's where we use our critical thinking that we learned, in our lives and on this show to make decisions about, and I, if you want to sneak into the Sydney Sweeney's movies and see that rack for free but not put money in her pocket, amen, sisters and brothers. All right, moving on to the Brown shooter. He was found deceased in a public storage unit, which is interesting. And this New York Times article says a Reddit post led to a breakthrough in the Brown shooting investigation. A Reddit user provided information that helped identify Claudio Manuel Neves Valenti as the suspect, not only in the campus shooting, but also in the murder of an MIT professor. And so this is interesting. So it seems like he murdered two people. It seems like he has like a very long history with the school, and it's some kind of like a vendetta or something. But I thought it was so interesting that information provided on Reddit was actually helpful because, again, we've talked about it many times before on this show, but a lot of times online sleuthing, because we all think we're detectives now because we've watched Law and Order and listened to some true crime podcasts. And we've talked on the show about how we have actually wasted millions of dollars of taxpayer money because the FBI many times does have to look into the information that we put online, and 9 times out of 10, if not more, it's leading them in the wrong direction, wasting their time and having the crime solved slower. So it's nice to see that someone actually helped. The first police officers arrived just after 4 p.m. last Saturday after reports of an active shooter at Brown University. They found a lecture room full of gunshot victims in one of the science buildings. The body of Mohammed Aziz Murkazov was near the back doors of the sloped auditorium-style hall. Another student, Ella Cook, had died on the floor between rows of seats. 9 others were bleeding and injured, some critically and needed rescue. And the killer, he had already slipped away, escaping a vast police dragnet imposed on the campus and the surrounding streets in the east side neighborhood of Providence, Rhode Island. There would be no armed standoff, no negotiation. Investigators were going to have to track the gunman down, which again is very non-traditional. Most times gunman's there, most times gunman takes his own life, and then we're done with it, you know? The scene inside the lecture hall was nightmarish, but also teeming with potential evidence. Investigators said they collected 44 spent 9mm shell casings, an additional unfired round from inside the lecture room and the hallway just outside it, in the Barris and Holly Science Building, a 1960s-style concrete and brick mid-rise. The story of the manhunt and the ultimate resolution of the investigation pieced together through affidavits filed in the case, interviews, and statements by officials, and a review of social media posts suggests an investigation that regrouped after a false start, aided by a crucial tip that finally broke open the case. The shooter had apparently left behind 2 high-capacity magazines, each able to hold about 30 rounds. DNA from the shell casings was sent out for expedited analysis. It did not match anyone in the Federal Bureau of Investigation's national DNA database. The eyewitnesses to the chaos told investigators that the shooter was a man, medium build, dressed in black, wearing a medical mask and wielding a handgun with a green laser sight. The killer might have howled a barking noise before he started firing, according to some witnesses, though others did not remember him saying anything before spraying the auditorium with bullets. The authorities pursued possible video evidence, canvassing security cameras in the surrounding area. Investigators discovered images of a potential suspect, a heavy-set man in a dark jacket and medical mask, who appeared several times on video in the late morning and early afternoon before the shooting, circling the area near the Barris and Holly building. The FBI used images from a nearby home security camera to compare the suspect's height with a fence gate, estimating him to be between 5'7" and 5'9". Investigators showed one of the captured photos to at least 3 eyewitnesses. One of them froze and teared up upon seeing the picture. Yes, they all agreed that was the shooter. I want to do a study of heights of mass shooters. Like, do you think any of them are over 6 feet tall? Do you feel like this is part of it is because they are short? Like ours, I know some serial killers though have been like pretty tall.
The Idaho's college stabber, I feel like he was like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, I feel that's just like kind of like sometimes that's just something I like to come up with, like how much of men's anger is attached to their height, right? Investigators show on Saturday night, the police reached out for the public's help, releasing security video of the suspect walking near Brown. His face was not visible. Early Sunday, working from a tip generated by the Providence police, the FBI tracked the cell phone of a potential suspect to a hotel in Coventry, Rhode Island, about 20 miles south of Providence. Federal and local officers descended on the hotel and detained a 24-year-old Wisconsin man. In his room, they found 2 firearms. It seemed to be compelling evidence, and the Providence police chief said at a news conference that officers were not looking for anyone else. But investigators had not yet received back scientific test results on evidence, and by that evening when the test came back, it was clear that they had the wrong man. I like that it like within 24 hours it comes back the wrong guy, but a paragraph earlier they're like, well, they got this guy with 2 firearms, and they were like, we are done, we are not looking for anybody else. Like, that's crazy. On Monday,
they did the same thing with the Charlie Kirk shooter too. What's his name? Tweeted out Kash Patel as he was heading into his reservation at Rayo's. He was like, "We got the guy. No more manhunt." And it was the guy who was filmed on 9/11 with Giuliani.
Well, I mean, yes, but I mean, and so that's the guy who's being charged with it, right?
No. The Tyler James Robinson kid was someone completely different.
I see what you're saying. I forgot that.
Like on both cases, they were like, FBI's got their man, no need to worry. And then a day later, it's like, whoopsie.
Do we think that was just a misdirect? Because I mean, because now I feel like obviously they knew who it was. You know, they hired the guy like that. Like I am not, you know, I do not like to go down conspiracy lane to visit you, Michael, but it is. I don't know. And then I was like, well, now Candace Owens is going down that route. And
on this one too?
As far as like the Charlie Kirk thing?
The Charlie Kirk one, no, she's been down that road. I thought she was stopping going down that road after her conversation with Erika Kirk.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. And then, you know, we were supposed to be looking out if she said like Shabbat Shalom on her broadcast. That was supposed to be like a secret signal that they had silenced her and that she has to be, you know, that somehow this has to do with Israel, of course, because all roads lead back to Israel. And that's, you know, why Charlie Kirk got assassinated and they need, you know, you need to keep her quiet. But then I watched the footage of her broadcast and she, you know, jokingly said Shabbat Shalom just to troll people a little bit more. So I don't know what the hell is going on. Again, I mean, I do not like to comment on a grieving woman. But damn, Erika Kirk does seem straight up like cartoonishly evil. It's really pretty crazy. On Monday, while investigators in Providence continue to sift through tips, a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Nuno F.G. Loureiro, was fatally shot in his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. The killer had fled. Police officers and FBI agents working on the Brown case did not at first see any connection between the mass shooting in Rhode Island and the killing of a professor in a Boston suburb about 50 miles away. Officials in Providence again beseeched the public for tips. Police officers went door to door in the neighborhoods around Brown looking for more footage from security and doorbell cameras. Then on Tuesday, a tip pointed the police to a Reddit post that grabbed their attention. Quote, "I'm being dead serious," an anonymous poster had written about the Brown shooting. "The police need to look into a gray Nissan with Florida plates, possibly a rental." The Nissan, the poster said, had been parked on a street corner in a residential neighborhood near Brown, sheltered by trees and bushes. A day after the Reddit post was made, a man the authorities confirmed was the writer approached law enforcement officials and told them about the car and an odd encounter he had with a suspicious man in Brown's Barris and Holly building. The tipster, whom the police referred to only as John, told them that he encountered the man in a bathroom on the ground floor of the building between 1:45 p.m. and 2 p.m. on Saturday, about 2 hours before the shooting. John said the man's clothing seemed out of place, too flimsy for the cold weather. They had made eye contact, he later told officers. John followed the man after he left the building to the parked Nissan and watched as the man unlocked it. But instead of getting in the car, the man started walking around the block with John trailing like a game of cat and mouse, he told the police. At one point, the two men spoke. According to the police affidavit, John asked the unidentified man, "Your car is back there. Why are you circling the block?" To which the suspect responded, "Why are you harassing me?" Once they knew about the car, law enforcement agencies could hone in on traffic, door, and garage cameras all over the upscale neighborhood, which the authorities had become convinced was where the gunman was both before and after the shootings. And when they located the car on video and identified it, the registration led to a rental business in Boston and then to the name of the person who had rented the Nissan. That's really what broke the case open, the Rhode Island Attorney General said in an interview on Friday. They identified the gunman as Claudio Manuel Neves Valente, a former Brown student. A native of Portugal, Mr. Neves Valente, 48, was a legal permanent U.S. resident with an address in Miami. It appeared that he had returned to the Brown University campus some 25 years after briefly studying there, and for reasons still apparently unknown, opened fire in a science building in which he had very likely taken classes in his 20s. And it's disgusting, obviously, that he murdered two people, but you know, obviously something happened, and it has been on his mind for, you know, the past 25 or so years, and he could not let it go. And he came and he took care of business. Traffic and security cameras later showed that for almost 2 weeks before the shooting, Mr. Neves Valente had lurked around the Brown campus, where he had been enrolled as a graduate student in physics from the fall of 2000 until taking leave in the spring of 2001. He dropped out in 2003. On December 1st, Mr. Neves Valente had rented the Nissan from a downtown Boston car rental business. He had rented a car in Boston at least one other time in recent weeks. Connecting Mr. Neves Valente to the car also connected him to the murder of Mr. Loureiro, the MIT professor who investigators had learned had been a former classmate of the shooter in Portugal. Imagine having a vendetta that you take internationally. That's some James Bond shit. Mr. Loureiro was currently a professor of nuclear science and engineering at MIT. Both men had studied at the same time, 1995 to 2000, at the Instituto Superior Técnico in Lisbon, authorities said. Though Mr. Neves Valente's movements the past few weeks are not yet entirely known, investigators were able to determine that he may have been in New England throughout 2025, Leah Foley, the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, said at a news conference. On Sunday, the day after the Brown shooting, Mr. Neves Valente apparently logged into his email account from an IP address near Boston University, about half a mile from the Brookline home of Mr. Loureiro, according to the documents in the case. By early Thursday, the leaders of the investigation faced a difficult decision. Mr. Neves Valente had extended his rental car contract once and was scheduled to return the Nissan to the car agency late that morning. If the authorities released his name and a photo of his face to the public, they might get reports on his whereabouts. On the other hand, he could flee if he learned that he had been identified. The collective decision by the agency leaders in the case, according to Mr. Noronha, was to keep the name secret. Thank God, that's what I would have done. And have officers wait for Mr. Neves Valente at the car rental company. I mean, that sounds like the obvious plan. That seems like obviously what you would do. He did not show up. Another lead suggested that Mr. Neves Valente might have changed his drop-off location to an airport in Connecticut, but that did not pan out either. Interesting. All right, so the good choice, what I thought, did not pan out. But, well, I mean, they got him anyway. Well, I mean, he was dead, but still, investigators were optimistic. As soon as you have a name, I believe you can find anybody in this country, Mr. Noronha said at a news conference. All right. What if your name is Mary Smith? Records located with the help of the FBI, he said, indicated that Mr. Neves Valente had rented a storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire. Video showed that on Monday evening, Mr. Neves Valente drove his rented Nissan West out of Boston with fraudulent maiden license plates attached. He arrived that night at the storage center, went in, and did not come out. The police surrounded the facility Thursday night. The manhunt that had begun in Providence with hundreds of heavily armed officers ended quietly. Police officers found Mr. Neves Valente dead, apparently of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in an otherwise empty storage locker. Like, what do you do if you're like just going and getting like an old couch and you can just hear a gunshot? He probably died on Tuesday, according to a statement from New Hampshire's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. Mr. Neves Valente had two guns with him, one by his feet, the other in his lap. The weapons were consistent with the firearms used in the shootings at Brown and also in the MIT case, according to a person briefed on the investigation who was not authorized to release the information. The firearms have to be tested to confirm a match with the ballistics found at both scenes, the person said. No note of explanation by Mr. Neves Valente has been found. Of all the outstanding questions about the crime, the one the Attorney General said he would most like to answer is the one of motive. Why did he do it? On that one, investigators are still stuck. I mean, obviously he had some kind of personal relationship with the MIT professor. I mean, if they had studied that many years together, that seems pretty clear. And like, not that I want to like say like, oh, this killing is like better, but if there was some reason like you set out to kill someone specifically because of something they did to you or something that, you know, some perceived slight, that is like, that's been happening since the beginning of time. So that to me is a little bit different than our current culture of shootings. Whereas, you know, obviously he maybe had something against Brown University, and then, you know, two innocent people who have nothing to do with him, seemingly, unless there are connections that we will learn about later, they had to die because of some like vendetta he has against the school. So that's why I think it's always important to know motive, because you go like, could this happen to me? Is this just like violence? Is this just anger? Or is this like I set out to kill specifically this person? Are you burping on air?
No, sorry. I was, I'm disgusted by this.
Really? Or you just ate French fries and then burped?
Both.
All right, let's go.
No, hold on.
Yes.
You're moving right on. This is open and shut enough for you that essentially a crazed homeless person went on a 2-school shooting rampage.
He's not homeless. What are you talking about, homeless?
The guy ended up he killed himself in his storage facility. Nobody knows where he lived before this.
That doesn't mean he's homeless.
That's a literal vagrant. He's passing from town to town.
Okay.
Nobody. If you don't have a home address for a guy, that's the definition of homeless.
Okay.
Also worth noting that the guy who got killed helped illuminate the physics occurring at the center of fusion vacuum chambers and at the edges of the universe. He was our top mind on fusion. On cold fusion and fusion energy, which people are saying is going to be absolutely vital for us to win the AI war.
Okay.
Also worth noting, on Friday.
Where'd you learn that previous piece of information for the AI war?
What?
Where did you piece together that information?
Well, I mean, it's a scale issue, right? Like the current grid that we have cannot support.
No. Like, where did you find out that that's what that guy is working on and that's what we need to win the AI war?
Well, I know that he's working on fusion because that's, that wasn't covered in the New York Times article because obviously they're going with lone gunmen, obviously not connected to very powerful people in very powerful places, definitely not connected to the energy industry, stopping a possible, disruptor from in fact disrupting the market. I mean, the guy works in nuclear fission. That's what he's been doing for 10. This is from MIT News on campus and around the corner. Like the MIT's own thing is talking about in 10 years at MIT, he helped illuminate the physics occurring at the center of fusion vacuum chambers and at the edges of the universe. I mean, that was his job, was working on fusion. Also worth noting that on Friday, I think it was right before markets closed on Friday, Donald Trump's media company announced that it was merging with a fusion company.
So what, you just think this is some guy that was hired by the Trump administration?
Trump administration, CIA, the deep state in general.
Just every murder this year just somehow linked back to the Trump administration.
This was on a college campus.
I'm trying to think of other ones that
we didn't have any quote unquote. There was no footage of this. There was no footage on this campus that has cameras everywhere. This upscale neighborhood that has, Ring doorbells and all this stuff everywhere. We didn't have any images on this guy by the time we went to air for a shooting that happened over the weekend. We went to air last Wednesday. We didn't have any details on this shooter by then.
You know what? If there wasn't a conspiracy theory for every article presented by you, I don't think this show would be as meaningful to me.
I mean, this one
I like what you brought to the table.
This one is the somebody was like, somebody posted a video and was like, look, we accepted Bondi. Cool, fine. We accept that. The, crazed lone gunman. We accept.
Wait, so for Bondi, who do you think, what's your conspiracy for Bondi Beach?
I personally don't have one. I don't know. I think that people are crazed and hateful. I also find it very.
There's been a lot of, attacks on Jewish people. That's not.
Sure, but a father-son gunman team. You haven't seen that since the DC Sniper.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was like, we have seen that before with DC Sniper.
But I mean, we're talking
American bonding.
03?
Yeah, but I mean, that just, maybe just people, don't have as good relationship with their parents right now.
Watch out. I'm close with my daughter. The millennial parents are going to be crazy on the tandem shooting. But I'm just saying, like, this dude was like, look, we accept, and he listed like 7 or 8 other wild things. But he's like, you're telling me.
And who's this guy? Who's this source?
One of these, rabble rousers on Instagram. This one's a lefty.
Okay.
But he's like a ginger dude who's like, come on, I'll find the exact video that I'm talking about. But this one is particularly.
It wasn't the Jolly Ginger, was it?
It might have been. If you look at this thing for all of 10 minutes, you'll walk away from it going, oh, yeah, none of this is real. I mean, we're talking like. No, it wasn't Jolly Ginger. It's like a skinnier dude.
Okay.
But it's like just the timing of the Donald Trump media partnering with the Fusion company, the like days after the leading voice in Fusion was killed in a seemingly random attack by some guy who knew him 25 years ago. Like, all of that is ripped straight out of the CIA playbook. Like, you know, David Ferry was, instrumental in the JFK assassination, and you can find photos of him, you know, in the RAF or whatever, the children's like ROTC for the Air Force. He was in pictures with the guy who popped at JFK. It's like, you know, you go down the list and it's like, that's all they do. They find a connection from 20 years ago and they exploit it.
Well, it says right here, Trump allies amplified unfounded online theories in wake of Brown shooting.
Okay.
This, I think, this is a different conspiracy theory, though. This was unfounded theories that a Palestinian student was responsible for the bloodshed and that it had targeted a young Republican. So this was
I saw that one too.
This one was going all over the map immediately.
Yeah, only 2 students died at the Brown thing, and one of them was like the leading. It was like her campus's Charlie Kirk, the like, you know,
Right.
the dork Republican girl who's like, we need traditional, and she's the one who got popped, and they're like, it was targeted, and it's like, I don't know, dude. Pretty sure she just happened to be one of 11 students who got killed, and the MIT professor who was working on cold fusion technology was actually the target. Just a guess by me.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, it's to be continued, guys. If anyone's a local, please email us withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Again, I allow Mike to bring his conspiracy theories to the table. I am not yes-anding. I like to hear them, though. And again, the show is about the right and the left. So the left reads the news, and then the right brings us a theory from some guy on Twitter, and that's why we love it. I please find who that is, though. I want to see who the guy that you found the thin ginger was. All right, let's go on to municipal news.
Pearl Mania, I think, is the guy.
All right, in our local whispers.
This dude, are you familiar with him?
No. How many followers does this guy have?
10
million? Oh, okay.
I'll look for the exact what I'm talking about. Sorry, you.
No, it's good. Okay, so municipal news. I wanted like a municipal news, and this one feels perfect for Christmas times. Unfortunately, I did have to take it from The Sun, but you know, I think because of what we're talking about, it's a pretty light story. I think we can use The Sun for this. Fight for Christmas. Small town residents war with Democratic mayor who ordered Hallmark movie style nativity scene be expelled from public space. The Supreme Court previously ruled on this exact problem. The Democratic mayor of a small southern town has sparked nationwide debate after ordering a public decorating committee to remove a nativity scene. Mayor Miko Pickett, and just so you guys know, is a black woman, caused a massive stir after deciding the small 3x4 foot decoration made the city appear not neutral on religion. Residents living in Mullins, South Carolina, a town of just over 4,000 people about 2.5 hours north of Charleston, have voiced their shock at the request, as they say signs of the Christmas story are sprinkled throughout the faithful town. Our small town, we have a church on every corner, Kimberly Bird, the head of the Mullins Beautification Committee, told Fox News. It's a faith-based community in the Bible Belt. I've been here 53 years of my life and never heard of anything like this happening here. Bird said that she and her small team gathered a few decorations to try to make the center of their little community look like, quote, a Hallmark movie. They wish to spruce up the downtown area and hopefully attract some foot traffic. After decorating the square, Bird sent pictures of her handiwork to Pickett, who said everything looked great, save for the light up nativity scene, text message shared by the committee leader show. The scene depicts Joseph and Mary kneeling and praying in front of a baby Jesus who is lying in a manger. The decoration was an obvious addition for Bird, who said, without the manger, there is no Christmas, ABC affiliate WPDE reported. However, Pickett felt that the issue wasn't about the reason for the season, but maintaining a separation of church and state. And I love that. She is the mayor of a small town, 4,000 people, and she knows that separation of church and state is important more than our president, more than our Congress people, more than our set. Like, good for you, Mayor Pickett. Honestly, I want to have this woman on the show. Good for you. At least someone understands government. The mayor wrote, I requested that the nativity scene be removed solely from the public parking area. The reason for this is the separation of church and state applies to municipalities as well. Yes. Regarding religious symbols on public property and parks. Yes. Pickett stressed that private citizens should feel empowered to put up nativity scenes on their properties. Yes. According to the 1984 Supreme Court ruling Lynch v. Donnelly, cities can display a nativity scene on public property if it's part of a broader holiday decor. Speaking with, and we know the Supreme Court's always making great decisions, but what is it, part of a broader holiday decor? I would need to read that decision a little bit more. Are we saying if we also have a menorah, if we also have, I don't know the name. What's the name of the Kwanzaa menorah? Sorry. Kwanzaa menorah. This is, the candle holder. What is it? I think we looked this up. The Kinara, it's called. So yeah, if you have a Kinara up, if you have any of these other things up, is that what they mean? Speaking with the local outlet, Councilman Albert Woodbury said that he wishes for the nativity scene to stay put. Kids pass here, people come through to see it, so it's okay. It should not be a problem for it staying up. Meanwhile, Pickett has not shared any other statements or comments about her decision. In text to Bird, she said that a majority vote of the council could override her choice if they held an emergency meeting. I love small towns. Can you imagine you're on city council in a 4,000 person municipality and you get called a week of Christmas that there's an emergency meeting and it's about whether the nativity scene can stay up or has to go away? I live for this. The U.S. Senate has reached out to the mayor for any updates on the situation. So the Supreme Court ruled yes. It's a little bit, in 1984 that it can stay up on public property. It's a little bit vague, but I got to say, I really agree with Mayor Pickett here. I really agree with her. I think to separate, I always thought, as a kid, that it was weird that we had just light up Jesus. First of all, I think the concept of light up Jesus in general is very weird. Even if you believe in, Jesus and the whole Christmas story, I just think it's if this man is, really as powerful as he is, if this being is as powerful as he is, and he did, he saved all of our souls, I do not think the way to commemorate him is with putting a flashlight inside of a plastic statue of him, right? I don't know. It just feels a little bit less than, Anyway, loved that story. Really did it for me. Cuties Corner, we have one from Wacko Joshua this week that I think is a great example of some things that I looked into in my campaign, which is how to achieve things for New York City based on how other places do it, including other countries. And so this is about carriage horses. And just, how do you say it? Cartagena. Okay. So this is from NPR. Cartagena's iconic horse carriages give way to electric buggies.
Cartagena?
It says Cartagena when you look it up. It literally says gay phonetically. Cartagena. Yeah. Cartagena. Yeah. Anyway, so Cartagena sits on Colombia's Caribbean coast, and for decades it has been one of the country's most beloved destinations. Its historic center is encircled by thick stone walls built by Spaniards to fend off pirates. Inside, narrow streets wind past sun-drenched plazas and colonial mansions, a cityscape straight out of a movie. The city is also famous for the horse-drawn buggies that carry tourists through its streets, their large spoked wheels clattering over the pavement. And similar to New York City, you can already see in Cartagena, this is just a money thing. It's not like they need the horse and carriage to get things actually done in the city. The city's nothing that's going on in the city relies on horse and carriage, except for a couple of people who are the proprietors of the horse and carriage business. They make their living off of it. But other than that, it's an absolute tourist trap. It does not actually belong in the city. And that is the problem. And that is, I mean, beyond the animal abuse, that's yet another reason why I can't believe that New Yorkers, elected officials in New York have blocked this so many times, because it's like, if you're serving the people, then the people don't need it and don't want it. So get rid of it. Let's see. The city is also famous for the horse-drawn buggies that carry tourists through its streets, their large spoked wheels clattering over the pavement, and their open tops, perfect for snapshots of Cartagena's charm. But soon the romantic buggies will be outlawed by the city government, which wants to replace them with electric vehicles due to concerns over animal welfare. Well, and then you'll still be able to get the pictures. You'll still be able to ride in an open space around town, and an animal is not going to die of being overheated and pulling a load that's too heavy for it. The move has angered horse cart owners and traditionalists, pitting them against animal rights activists and local officials who say there should be no place for horse carts in a city that wants to portray itself as a global destination. It's very sad, says Christian Munoz, one of Cartagena's traditional horse cart drivers. We are part of this city's heritage, like the walls that surround it. I mean, this is like if you're saying, like, what are you talking about? This is pure abuse. It's part of the city's heritage. Okay, are you going to also argue that slavery is part of a city's heritage? Like, stop. We don't, like, if something that was done historically was abusive to humans or animals or the environment, it's okay to be like, we've learned, we know better, and we're not going to do that anymore. And we talk so much about honoring history. History is not there to be honored. It's there to teach us a lesson so that we can improve in the future. Well, to me, that was the point of history class to me. When I sat in history class, I go, I'm learning these things right now so that as human beings on the planet, we don't make these mistakes again. These are to me, these are warnings. These are, Greek mythology. These are lessons, but real. These are lessons to teach me so that you want to remember history so that you can learn from it. Not so that you can do a weird homage to it, or so that you can keep repeating it. People are so scared of the unknown, which is the future, that I think like part of it, like history is like a weird old guy's nostalgia. Like millennial girls, like nostalgia for us is Lisa Frank, and nostalgia for like a 55-year-old man in Cartagena is abusing a horse. Tourists in the UNESCO World Heritage Site say that the horse carts are a fun way to get around, not for the horse, in Cartagena's sweltering heat, and many appreciate the way in which drivers tell the colonial city's history. But animal rights activists have long argued that these joyrides are terrible for the horses pulling the carriages, because cars on the city's roads stress out the horses, and the pavement injures horses' knees and hurts their legs. Fanny Pashon, a local animal rights activist, and of course her name is Fanny, says that on several occasions horses have collapsed from exhaustion. Different city, same fucking story. Horses are pack animals and they're designed to carry things, she admits, but they're meant to be in rural areas, not in the middle of a city with paved roads. Alejandro Riaño, a popular comedian from Bogota, has been lobbying Cartagena's government to replace the horse carts for the past 4 years. Look at that. Comedians getting stuff done. In 2021, he raised more than $25,000 on a crowdfunding site to build an electric vehicle that resembles a traditional horse buggy but runs with battery power. The prototype was tested on the city's streets 2 years ago. We have shown that there is the technology now to do things differently, he said. After years of protests, the city is finally siding with Riaño and the animal rights activists. On December 29th, traditional horse-drawn buggies will be banned and replaced by a fleet of 62 electric carriages imported from China under a joint venture between Cartagena's city government and Turismo, an agency that promotes tourism in the city. And there's a picture of these electric carriages here. They still look very classic, very traditional, very old school. And guess what? No horse is going to collapse because of that. And I love that. The new vehicles have big wheels and open tops, just like the traditional buggies, but they are powered by large batteries that can last for 43 miles on a single charge. Instead of reins, there's a steering wheel at the front for the driver. And so there's no reason, so the same people who were, in charge of these buggies when it was with a horse, they're not even going to lose their jobs because these are not like Waymos. They are not, going around Cartagena on their own. They still need someone to drive them. So there really is no downside here because no one's losing their job. No horses are being abused. It seems like it's, mildly environmentally friendly. If it's saying 43 miles on a single charge, they're kind of like boasting like that's good. I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head, so I don't know. I don't even have a car. The new carts also come with speakers that could be used to play music or to replicate the sound of a horse's gallop. All right, well, you're a child if you need that. Liliana Rodriguez, Corpo Turismo's director, says that this new fleet of carts could inspire other cities where horse carriages are still in use. Zohran, I hope you're reading this. She said that Cartagena's carts will also be environmentally friendly because their batteries will be charged with solar power. These are the kinds of changes that new generations are demanding, she said. The city is investing around $2 million in the new fleet of electric carts and in a warehouse that is fitted with a solar-powered charging station. Listen, I don't know what Cartagena's yearly budget is, but $2 million actually doesn't sound that bad. But the owners of Cartagena's horse carriages are worried. They say that the municipal government is pushing them out of a business they've spent decades building. We are not against the transition, said Miguel Angel Cortez, the owner of 2 horse carts that make around $150 per day, but we need to know how we will be included. Cart owners said that they have not gotten any offers in writing from the city government. Okay, and this is a valid point, but they have been to meetings where there has been some talk of a $10,000 payment to compensate them for their carriages. Cart owners said that they would hardly that would hardly compensate for their losses. Cartagena's mayor Domecq Turbay accuses the cart owners of sabotaging negotiations. He says that the municipal government is willing to share the profits of the new electric vehicles with the horse cart owners. Okay, so this is interesting because they're saying it's kind of written as if they could just take over, but now is this like city workers instead? So this is now city owned versus private owned, it seems. But so far there have been no agreement between both sides, and cart owners have threatened to sue the city government for leaving them out of work. Well, I mean, you shouldn't be able to sue them like any job situation. If you lose your job, the city should, yes, have to offer you compensation for X amount of time before you can find a new job. I mean, getting fired, you can't. I guess you can sue for getting fired without cause, but the cause here is you were abusing animals. So I think there is cause. I get the feeling, and I'm just going off American laws here. Obviously, this is a different place. I get the feeling that they're trying to take advantage of the situation. Mayor Turbay told the NPR News. Turbay says that tourists will also be able to ride on the city's new electric carts for free for the next 2 months. And so if we had electric carriages in Central Park instead of horse-drawn buggies, I, as a New Yorker, would ride them again. During Christmas time, that would be so great and so fun, and I would love to do that. I mean, I'm sure it would cost me an arm and a leg, but I would do it once a year for Christmas. And some of the carriage drivers who currently work for cart owners admit that they will apply for jobs driving the new electric buggies. So there you go. It is if you can, work for the city, I guess it's, you're not going to make as much money as if you own the business. But, again, then don't, create a business based on abusing animals, and you won't get you won't find yourself in this pickle moving forward. But others are wondering if tourists will want to ride on electric vehicles, even if they resemble 19th century carriages. Yeah, of course. I mean, when you go to Colonial Williamsburg, it's just some lady who is trying to be an actor dressed up like a Colonial Williamsburg lady. Does that take the fun out of Colonial Williamsburg? Do we want to exhume a corpse and put it on strings because that would be more historically accurate? What are we talking about? People come to Cartagena for tradition, says cart driver Christian Munoz. Without the horses, it's not the same. Okay, well, boo-hoo. I love that, Joshua. Thank you so much for sending that in. Appreciate that. Now let's get into girl.
Oh, hold up! I found my dude.
You found your dude for the Brown shooting? Okay.
Yes. This was the best video that I saw on it. TYC Music 2 is the gentleman, and
what?
The guy's handle.
No, I know why. That's hard for me to type in.
So I'm assuming it's Ty C.
Mm-hmm.
It's his music account, and this is his second backup because they don't like this boy spitting facts.
Oh my God.
Maybe don't tell us on the day that the Epstein files are supposed to be released, or the week that True Social merged with a fusion company, that the Brown University school shooter was the same guy that murdered the MIT professor who worked on stabilizing nuclear fusion technology so that he could pair it with quantum computers so that he could use algorithms to simulate plasma, so that he could replace our phones and computers, okay? Because that one's a little bit much. I was cool with the Venezuelan war. I think we were all going to roll over on that one. Just like we rolled over on Charlie Kirk, okay? We were cool with that, and we were going to roll over on the National Guards who were killed by the ex-CIA sleeper cell. Totally chill. Bondi Beach, totally chill. The Reiners, totally chill. But the Russian government invested into TAE in 2012. They have 250 employees, and $6 billion is a little bit much, wouldn't you say? Fusion is next up to replace our fossil fuel-based bloodline, so don't tell us the smartest mind in fusion was murdered by his classmate from 20 years ago who was a dropout who went to Brown University a year after for only 2 semesters and then randomly went back to Brown University to carry out what looks like a well-thought-out attack on very specific targets, okay? That's a little bit much, and I know you're piling on today, but that one is a lot, because I know what happens to scientists who go up against fossil fuel industries. I know oil, coal, and gas destroy. I know what happens, okay? I'm not fucking crazy. I didn't know what happened to Charlie Kirk. I didn't know who he was until he was dead, to be honest with you, but I know what happens to scientists. Either way, have a nice night, y'all. Good luck. I mean, I don't even fucking script writers.
Okay. All right. I like him because he reminds me of one of the lone gunmen from the X-Files. And any guy like that, I do trust a little bit more.
The lone gunmen?
It's the lone gunman. It's the guys in the basement.
Oh, okay. I'm never a big X-Files guy.
Oh.
That sounds like, you remember the Adam Sandler, Brendan Fraser classic Airheads, right?
No.
Oh. That was a classic early 90s movie that played on Comedy Central all the time, but they made fun of him because the name of their band was the Lone Rangers. And it's like, how can you put an S on the Lone Ranger? It's crazy. So the Lone Gunmen is very silly to me. Well,
it's the Lone Gunmen are a trio of fictional characters who so it's like appeared in recurring roles on X-Files. Yeah.
All right, sorry to derail, girl.
No, that's all good. But there is also an episode called that. So I was like, X-Files is Oh no, wait, no. So it wasn't the name of an episode. There was one season of. I didn't even know this. There was a spinoff of the show of X-Files starring these guys in 2001 that I completely missed. Wow. But yeah, the lone gunmen are the guys in the basement. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is interesting. The Charlie Kirk thing, I think, most people didn't care, I guess, because the left would have been noisier about it, and they're like, well, if they're killing their own people, then that's kind of for them to handle amongst themselves, I guess. All right. Let's go. All right. Jimmy Fallon joke is Mike's first story for Girl. He said normally he doesn't care about Jimmy Fallon, but he did bring this to my attention. Seems interesting. This is from the New York Post. Jimmy Fallon recycles odd Mamdani joke 3 times. Late night host Jimmy Fallon, and I didn't read this one yet because Mike just told me about this right before air. Late night host Jimmy Fallon is facing scrutiny for repeating the same joke about New York City's next mayor, not once, not twice, but thrice. The longtime Tonight Show host delivered the Zohran Mamdani joke across multiple episodes, seemingly without acknowledging the repetition. It was so, quote, "It was so cold in New York City this morning. Walking to work, I saw a Wall Street stockbroker spooning with Zohran Mamdani." God, that's a weak joke. Lord almighty. Oh my God. Wow. As the entertainment website Late Nighter noted, comedians often repeat jokes as callbacks or running gags, but those moments are typically acknowledged on air, something Fallon did not do. Instead, he used the line a week later. Or I could see having jokes that kind of have the same premise, but then, kind of arranging them in 3 different styles because you really want to hone in on a particular point that you're making comedically. But to have something that was that weak the first time repeated 3 times is crazy. He repeats it again. So he says it on December 9th. He repeats it again on December 16th. And then he does it again the next day.
The exact same joke, exact same wording.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I guess the only thing is, like, if you want to talk about my conspiracy theory, maybe Jimmy Fallon's ratings weren't doing well, so something weird like this would get people talking about it and be free press.
This is like almost when people like misspell things in an Instagram reel,
for
so
engagement.
that comments are like, "Rah!"
Or like pour something weird so that everyone goes, why are you pouring it like that? The joke hinges on the surprising image of Mamdani cuddling with a business tycoon. Mamdani has, we don't need to know why, but okay. I mean, this is...
What a ChatGPT ass way to break down a joke.
This, number one of the worst jokes I've ever heard. And I mean, 2, Jimmy Fallon, and I mean, I'm not even talking out of school here. Kind of everyone knows that this is like I don't even know if this is an industry secret. This is just kind of a known, Jimmy Fallon's a pretty bad alcoholic. And so, sorry, allegedly, don't sue me, Jimmy, but everyone knows.
Well, I mean, remember when he did his show for 6 months in a cast? And we all know why.
It was a drinking injury.
Yeah, he was hammered drunk and broke his hand horrifically.
And so I feel bad for him. I don't think, I've heard some stories from set and stuff where he just kind of feels like a sellout, and it's probably because you are. And I hear you. Like, you are super famous and I'm sure super rich, but at what cost? Like, your own sanity, your own respect for yourself. Like, it's not worth it. And like, that's why you're drinking, just to be a little armchair therapist here. You started out with the pursuit of being a comedian, and now you're just like a lackey for the government. It's kind of gross. But yeah, that is, so I don't know what the point would be besides that, like, Jimmy Fallon is drunk and didn't notice, and like maybe his writers are mad at him and are trolling him or something, because there's no way that the writing room couldn't have noticed. Especially the one where it's 2 days in a row.
Yeah, how much could you be phoning it in your writing job if you keep submitting that? If you've gotten paid on 3 different weeks and submitted that joke.
Yeah, but I'm thinking maybe like the writer's room, maybe like Jimmy is like coming to say, coming late, he's drunk, it's an unhappy work environment. So maybe all the writers got together and they're like, let's see how many times we can get Jimmy to say the same joke. I could see, like, writers are comedians and comedians are fucking mean. I could definitely see a writer's room who, like, because also, like, comedians, we always want to kind of like get justice or whatever, but we're never going to get into a physical altercation because we're all pussies. So we have to like fight with our words, and a lot of times, like, people do it by making other people look stupid. Like, this kind of just like makes me sad. Like, how bad is your alcoholism?
Because it's like, you need to approve this. Like, even if your writers put this down for you, you're still approving your script.
Yeah, but he's doing it most likely, especially with a show like this. That's, because I worked on Conan. It's happening so fast, and I would say Conan is, probably a lot more involved than most other TV shows, in the writing and what happens. But like, you're working all day, you're writing all morning to, for then to shoot, probably around 5 o'clock or something. And so if he's drunk or something, you do a rehearsal, but he's not like sitting there redlining. I don't think he's just kind of doing a rehearsal off cue cards, and then he can punch up if he wants. Again, I'm guessing that's kind of how we did it on Conan.
Yeah, that's true. Being the host of the Tonight Show has to feel like Groundhog's Day too.
Well, and it's just it's so fast paced that I don't know how much he's seeing before he gets to the cue cards. And especially if he has a drinking problem, like, we don't know this, but like, maybe he's not even showing up to rehearsals. Like,
so the only other explanation I can think of is they somehow got Mamdani in on this, and they're going to actually shoot him cuddled up next to a stockbroker one morning. And like, that's the only thing that would make any sense, is like, you keep bringing this up, and like, he does the joke a 4th time and somebody's like, hey, Jimmy, this is crazy. And he's like, no, I have a picture of it, right? You know what I mean? That
But what's
might
the
make
point
sense.
of what's the point of it? And unless you're like a Jimmy Fallon super fan and you watch the show every night, no one would even catch that.
I'll be honest, I was planning on watching the opening monologue tonight just to see if he says it.
So then maybe it is my first inclination, which is PR move. You know, mostly everything in entertainment is a PR move. All right, this next article is from Futurism. Tech billionaires are starting private cities to escape the United States. Can you imagine being that rich and that miserable? So this is from December 9th, but it's like it's based off of these like Trump kind of cities where billionaires are just going to live by themselves, apparently. As economic discontent grows throughout the world's techno billionaires are heading for the promised land, but first they'll have to build it. At the Network State Conference held in Singapore earlier in October, former Coinbase chief technology officer Balaji Srinivasan shared his vision for the ultimate exit by tech industry elites from the failing United States. I think it's fair to say in 2025, we have a movement, Srinivasan exclaimed. That movement is the rise of startup societies, a pro-corporate, anti-government coalition of tech magnates, libertarian idealists, and neoliberal economic theorists. As the Financial Times notes in new reporting on the phenomenon, the movement is indeed growing. What once was the stuff of dystopian fiction, like the BioShock franchise, is now the task of some 120 startup societies throughout the world, each scrambling to erect specially built cities to court billionaires who fear maligned by organized society. Srinivasan, for example, runs a network school on an artificial island in Malaysia known as Forest City. Described as a frontier community for techno-optimists and a society as a service, the network school costs $1,500 a month for basic members. For that, participants get access to luxuries like co-working spaces, high-speed Wi-Fi, and even office pods, according to the network school website. That's not really that bad. Of course, no Silicon Valley retreat would be complete without its half-baked events. Though Forest City is mostly a ghost town, as attendee Jules Foa described it, members can come together and network at exciting seminars like Riz 101, Get What You Want from Life, and Junto, The Assassination of Charlie Kirk. There are even inter-startup society communities to join, like the Thrive Tribe, which kicked off in November in a seminar attended by all of 10 people. Every conversation, every bite of food, every person you sit next to while you work, it's all shaping your future without you realizing it, wrote Thrive Tribe founder Des Pena. That's why I created this space to rewire your reality. Oh, thanks, Des. While tech billionaires and venture capitalists are throwing an ungodly amount of fuel on the fire, startup societies aren't a new fad. For decades, libertarians have been dreaming of ways to break free of the bonds of organized society. One notable example is Prospera, a libertarian charter city which functions as a free-for-all tax haven on the island of Roatan in Honduras. Prospera has courted over $100 million in investments from techno-libertarian figures like Peter Thiel, Adam Draper, and Mark Andreessen. Though Prospera was originally built as a private for-profit city with low taxes and extremely lax regulations, there's sex trafficking there, the experiment is now circling the drain following the arrest of Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez in the U.S. Though Hernandez and his regime allowed Prospera a unique legal foothold in the country, his successor, Xiomara Castro, has made kicking Prospera to the curb a key pillar of her platform. In 2022, Castro canceled the law which gave Prospera its special legal status, prompting an $11 billion lawsuit from Prospera's founders. Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Romer, who was instrumental in developing the idea of a charter city in 2012, blasted Prospera as living in this libertarian fantasy that they can be free of the government. That's not going to turn out well. This is crazy. Romer is far from the only critic of the movement. From the native residents of Roatan to the political theorists of the West, startup societies don't enjoy much popular or academic support. Indeed, it would probably be quicker to just tally up its boosters, who typically come from free market think tanks funded by billionaires. Can you imagine being that rich and that miserable? Olivier Joutel, a researcher in cyber libertarianism at the University of Otago in New Zealand, told the FT. They think that they are the grand solutionists that can fix all the problems, but it's so insular. But just because it's stupid doesn't mean it won't inherit the earth. Wow. Do you have anything to add about that? I know you were kind of interested in these private cities for billionaires.
Well, just that Trump is now selling these Trump has taken the next step to be like, yeah, he made some kind of speech where he's like, we have all of this land that's federally owned, and I'd like to take just a small piece of that and sell it to these extremely rich people to like build their own societies,
right? And
see what we can do. And I think he called them freedom cities,
right?
That was like his exact quote, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like you're taking this federal land that we all agreed is, you know, the of the people's, and you're selling it to your rich friends at God knows what thing, and then you're going to I saw something today that said I saw a thing that said that when the United States falls, there's a chance we return to like the next dark ages. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like it's like the when the United States falls, so much is gonna fall with it that like we're all just gonna fall back. Like, you know, the advancements in science and culture and everything is just gonna stagnate. And you know, we're gonna regress as a world. And it's like, okay, so if you're telling me that the billionaires now are already setting up their fiefdoms for when this whole thing goes medieval again, then what are any of us doing? Why don't we start the revolt now?
Hell yeah. And I mean, freedom cities, if you look it up, is even on Wikipedia. This is something that Trump started talking about, and I guess I missed it that time around. He started talking about it. He proposed it in a campaign video that came out March 3rd, 2023. He called for a quantum leap in the American standard of living and framed the project as a return to the nation's ambitious frontier settling past, comparing it to the development of the Transcontinental Railroad and the interstate highway system. The core of the proposal involves chartering up to 10 new cities, roughly the size of Washington, D.C., on a 0.06% of the 640 million acres of land owned by the federal government, holding a contest to select the best development proposals from the public and private sectors. This man loves a contest. Reigniting American manufacturing by creating hives of industry to reduce reliance on imports from China, and promoting home ownership for young and working class families as a core part of the American dream. Freedom Cities is a concept proposed by Donald Trump for developing up to 10 new master planned cities on federal land. The vision of Freedom Cities combines goals of increasing housing supply, revitalizing American industry, and promoting a specific social and aesthetic vision. I don't like that. What does that mean? That everyone in the city is white? I don't like that. I don't like any of it, but I specifically, that is like sus, you know? The project has been developed further by conservative and libertarian think tanks, which have identified potential locations and drafted model legislation. The proposal has drawn both support from proponents of deregulation and criticism from academics, urban planners, and environmental groups all over its political ideology, feasibility, and a potential impact on democracy and the environment. Yeah, I mean, when you think of like no regulations, like these people won't be paying taxes. They'll be doing absolutely anything they want with the environment, with, you know, oil, with gas, with electricity, with water supply, and the children will be, the right likes to talk about indoctrinating people. These children who ever have to live here will definitely be indoctrinated into some kind of weird mindset. No one will have vaccines, and also definitely a ton of sexual assaults, as is anytime something like this, where men have this idea to go off the grid, women are going to get raped. Quote me on that. Damn. Damn. And while we're on Donald Trump and his little contests, obviously, I'm sure you guys heard about his announcement of the Patriot Games that a lot of people are being like, oh, Donald Trump's doing his own Hunger Games now. It's a youth athletic competition celebrating United States' 250th birthday. For me, I see this as another opportunity to somehow get in an argument about whether trans people can obviously compete or not. But yeah, this is going to be in the fall. We will host the first ever Patriot Games, an unprecedented 4-day athletic event featuring the greatest high school athletes, one young man and one young woman from each state and territory. So let's see what's going to happen here. Trump previously previewed the competition in July, saying at the time that it would be televised and led by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. Am I going to watch it? 100%. Am I going to do a reaction video on YouTube for you guys? 100%. I guess, until we start getting in the trans argument about this, which we 100% will, because they said one man and one woman. So 100% there's going to be some issue here that they're going to really flare up and make it into some kind of a talking point about trans people, because they love to do that. Other than that, it's out of all his ideas, this one doesn't even seem that bad. It's like, all right, whatever. It's just kind of like we have bigger fish to fry, I guess. All right, let's get into the DNC blocking the autopsy report of why they lost the 2024 presidential election. So this is from Politico. And this, Mike said might be the biggest story of the week. We were kind of talking a little bit before, because, some weeks there's something that, definitely stands out. And other weeks it's kind of just like, this is the things that I think you need to know. Or that you might have missed, or, that you're going to have to argue about at the Christmas dinner table. Also, speaking of conspiracy theories, and I meant to, add this to our long list of conspiracy theories, but it came out in another revelation from the Rob and Michelle Reiner murders that Rob, obviously he was, they were set to meet with the Obamas later that day. So obviously he's a very politically involved guy, very active Democrat. That's why, Trump was so rude in what he said about him. But apparently he was working on some type of Democratic documentary. Let me look this up a little bit more. I learned about this earlier this week. Rob Reiner, Democratic documentaries. And so then, of course, that got all kinds of conspiracy theories swirling around that, maybe he, they hired his son to murder him, or they framed him. Let's see. Well, this is God and Country already came out. It was just, and this was from Rob Reiner's mouth. I believe he was talking to, God, it was on a podcast, and he said, hey, I haven't talked to anyone else about this, but I am working on this. This is just something I saw in passing, but I did want to bring that up if you do enjoy a conspiracy theory. All right, so from Politico, Democratic National Committee blocks release of its 2024 election autopsy. Despite a pledge from the DNC chair Ken Martin to release the post-election report, the committee announced Thursday it would not share it publicly. The Democratic National Committee is refusing to release its autopsy of the party's major 2024 losses. It announced on Wednesday, and this is from December 18th. This came out, breaking Chair Ken Martin's public pledge to do so. The decision underscores the party's challenges in grappling with its electoral setbacks as it heads into what is expected to be a stronger midterm year. The DNC's completed post-election review of the party's melodramatic and botched campaign cycle is based on hundreds of interviews with operatives in all 50 states. During that process, some Democrats raised concerns about releasing the findings, according to a DNC official granted anonymity to describe the sensitive process. The DNC wanted to avoid another public debate over how the party lost the White House to Donald Trump, and instead turn its focus on its recent successes, according to this official. Democrats have overperformed in special elections. We know all this. Former President Joe Biden's decision to run for re-election despite his advanced age and his disastrous debate performance were not mentioned in some excerpts of the report's findings, which were shared with Politico. Democrats are still divided over what contributed to Kamala Harris's loss. I mean, I would say the fact that she had 3 months to run was probably the biggest contributor. I would say that would be the main thing there. In a statement, Martin said that the committee had completed a comprehensive review of what happened in 2024. It's not comprehensive. It's very succinct, actually. The review of what happened in 2024 is people were fed up with getting served lies and being dicked around, and they chose chaos. And they are putting our learnings into motion, noting the party's off-year victories. In our conversations with stakeholders from across the democratic ecosystem, we are aligned on what's important, and that's learning from the past and winning the future. Here's our North Star. Does this help us win? If the answer is no, it's a distraction from our core mission. The decision marks an about-face for a coalition that's at odds over what went wrong last year and still registering record low approval ratings even among its own voters. Several outside groups, from the Progressive Way to Win to the center-left Welcome nonprofit, released their own in-depth audits of the party's missteps with differing diagnoses for how to fix its problems. How about, say you're going to do something, have it actually feel leftist, not just diet Republican, and then when you are elected to office, do it. Just last week, some DNC members called on the committee to provide more answers. The DNC official described, people are acting like this is so hard. Zohran Mamdani literally came in and he said, hey, here's 3 things that I'm going to do. They're good ideas. They're going to save you money because you guys all said that you need to save money. That was your main thing that you guys were worried about. So here's 3 solutions to that problem, and I'm going to just double down on, making these happen, and this is what's going to happen. And then he was young and energetic and actually listened to people. That's it. Everyone's looking at his campaign like everything he did was genius. I actually don't think it's a genius at all. I think it was exactly what we should have been doing the whole frickin' time. It was not genius, it was obvious. And it's crazy that it took this long for that to happen. And again, it's not the Democratic Socialists recognize it. And again, I think have been, recognized it for a long time. But the DNC official described some examples of the report's findings. It's yawn time from no oxygen in my basement, including the party's organizing strategies, necessary technological upgrades. That's true. And its youth voter problem. Though the details shared with Politico were sparse and incomplete. Excerpts from the review broadly described Democrats as defensive on immigration and public safety, issues that generally favor Republicans, but didn't check a campaign candidate or entity for its role in this posture, at least not publicly. On the party's organizing efforts, the DNC's review urged campaigns to incentivize engaging conversations with voters over just the number of doors knocked and phones called. It called for investing more into relational organizing and year-round field infrastructure, efforts Martin championed during his chair's race last year. Of the party's data infrastructure, the DNC's report issued warnings that it was out of date and overwhelmed at key moments during the campaign and called for it to be modernized. It described the party's much-reported losses among young voters, citing Republicans' advantages in communicating through the influencer ecosystem and pressing Democrats to engage with non-traditional media sources. And they really need to be specific here because our loss among young voters was really primarily young men. We didn't see much of a loss amongst young women. Back in February, Democrats conceded the GOP was running circles around them online, but in describing its findings, the DNC doesn't go much further in clarifying its own public recommendations. This fall, the DNC held briefings with donors and other Democratic stakeholders on its initial findings. At the time, one Democrat who attended an October donor event confirmed that Biden's initial decision to run in spite of his advanced age was not mentioned by DNC officials as a part of the review. It's not clear whether his decision to run for re-election is discussed in the private review. Biden's age was not mentioned in the excerpts of the review shared with Politico on Thursday, nor was it raised in other briefings on the report's initial findings. Most Democrats cite the last-minute candidate switch as a core reason for the party's sweeping losses. Martin's decision to withhold the report doubles back on a pledge he made just hours after he was elected to be the DNC's chair in February. In comments to reporters, Martin committed to the public release of the 2024 report. At the time, he also questioned why the DNC hadn't released its 2016 autopsy. When he questioned what happened with that, was there any utility in doing that? Of course it will be released, Martin said in February, referring to a future review of the 2024 election. There has to be some lessons that we glean on so that we can operationalize it, not just here in DC, but through all of the 57 state parties and, of course, the county parties, so that people have a sense of what we will need to do. Mike, I know you were really interested in that story. What are your thoughts? And I would love to see like what a comprehensive autopsy of losses even looks like. I've never looked at something like that before.
I think it's just more of...
It's an analysis, you know?
No, I my biggest takeaway from that is that it's just more of the same from the Democrats, right? Like it's, I told you I was excited for the Trump win mostly for what it meant for the future of the Democratic Party, right? Like
right.
that certain sweeping changes were going to need to be made. And this is just more of the same of this party saying, we know the will of the American people better than the American people, distancing themselves from, we have responsibility to our donor class and our donor class exclusively. We don't owe you answers. We don't, admitting our failures is not going to trick you into voting for us. So,
right.
And it's one of those things where it's like, because of things like this, I cannot see myself with a clean conscience voting Democrat, right? Because it's like, you're just going to provide the same dog and pony show for me. And it's like, my biggest takeaway from reading
vote for
this.
Eric Trump?
What?
You're going to vote for Eric Trump?
I don't know. Erika Kirk seems to think it's going to be JD in 26. So, hey, whatever.
That's a weak ass candidate.
Yeah, none of them are great. Literally. I mean, I think the
Ivanka.
No, the one that I sent you, I thought was kind of fun. The super ticket of seen the light billionaire Mitt Romney and AOC.
Oh, right.
Mitt Romney running as like the one guy who actually did see the light in 2020 thanks to the BLM protest and has been like an actual ally for 5 years now and is saying things like, yeah, tax the billionaires, like me included. Let's tax the billionaires. And it's like, well, no other billionaire saying that.
Yeah, right.
I can't believe Mitt Romney's the one guy in 2025 who I'm like, I mean, he's making sense.
I feel like I didn't like. Again, I'd have to refresh myself, but I remember Mitt Romney. I don't have any like. I didn't like hate Mitt Romney. There was nothing about him when he was running where I was like, I hate him.
Huh. No, I got no real issue with him. I'm just saying like my big takeaway from this is like nothing's going to change in the Democratic Party. It's going to be business as usual. They're going to keep promoting the people who've been quote unquote playing the game for the longest. Hakeem Jeffries is going to be the next Speaker of the House when Democrats take it over or however it ends up. It's just, they're going to keep all the dirty laundry in-house, never let that be aired, never let anybody with new ideas in here, right? This is a closed file. We're closing it up rank and file and, having the back of the donor class and the wealthy elites, just like the Republicans.
Damn. Well, something else to, calm you down. Your favorite lady, already at it, Barry Weiss. This is from Vox. Is CBS News censoring 60 Minutes? So this was kind of all over. So basically what happened is on Sunday, 60 Minutes was set to air a report on the conditions in El Salvador's CCOP prison where the Trump administration has sent migrants. But Saturday night, Barry Weiss intervened to spike the story, declaring that it was not quote, ready for publication. A flurry of leaks then ensued, including an internal email from Sharon Alfonsi, a correspondent on the story. Alfonsi asserted it had been fully reviewed and approved by the network standards and legal team, and that Barry Weiss's move was therefore political, a betrayal, and corporate censorship. And we knew this was coming. Weiss's own internal explanation then leaked. She insisted both that there was not enough new in the report and insisted it should include Trump officials giving an on-camera interview. I look forward to airing this important piece when it's ready, she told the New York Times in a statement. Other criticisms she'd made internally about the piece were later leaked to Axios, and they boiled down to not enough was done to explain the administration's point of view. Behind Weiss's move, her critics suspect, is an effort to please Larry and David Ellison, the father and son billionaires who helped purchase CBS's parent company Paramount earlier this year. The Ellisons subsequently bought Weiss's publication, The Free Press, making her very rich and installed her atop a pillar of the mainstream media despite her lack of any experience in TV news. The Ellisons are hoping the Trump administration will intervene to help them pull off another media megadeal. The problem is that President Donald Trump has been very vocal about his unhappiness with 60 Minutes' recent coverage of his administration. He's insisted it's gotten worse since the Ellisons took it over. The implied quid pro quo seems obvious. Shape coverage of Trump more to his liking. I mean, classic dictatorship right here, or say goodbye to your media mega deal. Yet there's also a through line that connects Weiss's behavior here with her long-standing editorial line toward Trump, epitomized in the approach of the Free Press. That publication frequently runs criticisms of the Trump administration, but typically it tries to make sure it is done in a delicate and careful way with sensitivity toward how its right-wing audience would receive it and care not to trigger them. That is, when it comes to Trump, Weiss has long tried hard to be politically correct. The billionaires behind the curtain. Let's start by paying attention to the billionaires behind the curtain. Larry Ellison has long supported Trump, and he and his son currently want the Trump administration to use antitrust review to scuttle Netflix's purchase of Warner Brothers Discovery so that they can combine WB with Paramount to create an entertainment and media powerhouse. I mean, it's going to be pretty soon until one person controls what we see on our phones, what we see on our TV screens, what we see in the movie theaters, the actors that we see. This is all again, another conspiracy theory. Maybe Sydney Sweeney is like a mole. Maybe she's just placed by the government, and they were like, the power of her titties will distract Americans. But Trump is no cheap date. He's making his price clear. On December 8th, Trump complained on Truth Social that 60 Minutes aired an interview in which his one-time ally, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, criticized him. But he clarified that his real problem with the show wasn't Greene. It was that the new ownership would even allow a show like this to air. He continued, they are no better than the old ownership. Since they bought it, 60 Minutes has actually gotten worse. He reiterated that.
Whoa. Come on. Read it the way he wrote it.
Oh.
They are not any better than the old ownership.
It was in all caps.
Since they bought it, 60 Minutes has actually gotten worse.
He reiterated that complaint in another post Tuesday. For those people that think I am close with the news owners of CBS, please understand that 60 Minutes has treated me far worse since the so-called takeover than they have ever treated me before. If they are friends, I'd hate to see my enemies. Anonymously sourced reports from Trump World soon suggested that the Ellisons' hopes for federal intervention may be in vain, and a fund that had supported the Ellisons' bid, Affinity Partners, run by Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, pulled out from the deal last week. At a rally on Friday, Trump complained about 60 Minutes again. He really lets things get under his skin, saying they've treated me worse under the new ownership and that they just keep hitting me. It's crazy. The next morning on Saturday, Barry Weiss suddenly started posing questions internally about the CCOT story, which was set to air Sunday. Per CNN's sources, she complained that the Trump administration hadn't responded and suggested making a push to interview White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller before, of course, she ended up pulling the story entirely. Barry Weiss's political correctness towards Trump. Yet it isn't exactly surprising that Weiss would be skeptical about a hard-hitting investigative report into the Trump administration's abuses. The Free Press is distinguished by its opposition to wokeness and its staunch support of Israel. But in contrast to the other center-right publications that distinguish themselves from their more conservative brethren by criticizing Trump, Weiss's Free Press was, at the very least, Trump-curious. To be sure, the Free Press ran criticism of Trump, but Weiss criticized what she called the overzealous, out-of-touch, hysterical reaction to Trump in his first term, particularly scorning claims that he was a budding authoritarian. I mean, Here we go. In fact, it was Trump's critics, she said, who often proved extraordinarily authoritarian and totalitarian. So in contrast to the Free Press's hair-on-fire coverage of leftists on campus, the publication took a notably measured tone toward Trump's second term. One go-to move for when the administration did something that was widely viewed as outrageous or terrible was to convene an expert roundtable, get some critics in there as well as some Trump supporters, and let the readers decide. Trump was not, so far as we know, reading the Free Press. Someone was briefing him on it, I'm sure. But the anti-woke audience Weiss was cultivating was full of Trump supporters, and to keep them subscribing, Weiss had to ensure that the Free Press never became viewed as overtly anti-Trump, even after Trump regained office and began imposing a hardline agenda. Some commentators who liked Weiss's wokeness takes were appalled by this turn. Yeah, like me. And I mean, you've heard me, because I really used to like the Free Press. And in the past, like a year or so, I think, I bring a lot less Free Press articles to the table. And I've really been kind of like, what is this even turning into? Because I did like it when at the jump, and then it just got very weird and seemingly more Republican than like Fox News in some ways. The almost total avoidance of coverage of the current government threats to freedoms as basic habeas corpus, due process, and free speech on campus is quite something, Andrew Sullivan wrote. Again, kind of pointing out that a tactic of not to misreport, but just to not report at all, just to leave it out. When there is coverage, it's nitpicking in order to defend Trump. We don't actually know what the NBC News CCOT report contains, but it is common for investigative journalists to take an adversarial approach to the people in power, to expose abuses by them and try to hold them to account. In Alfonsi's email, she framed her CCOT story as giving voice to the voiceless. Weiss's longtime critic, though, is that she believes mainstream journalistic institutions became too adversarial and reflexively hostile to Trump. I actually don't disagree that news sources became reflexively hostile to Donald Trump. That's why, the very few amount of times that he has done something that I thought was like a good idea or smart, I did try to give him credit for those things because I didn't want it just to be like, oh, this is the lib show where everything that Trump does is bad, because I agree that becomes untrustworthy. So again, foundationally, I agree with that, but she's gone fucking rogue and not in the good way. Before Weiss founded the Free Press, she was a mid-level editor at the New York Times' opinion section. But in summer 2020, she publicly posted her resignation letter, blasting the paper for what she said was progressive groupthink and a culture hostile to conservative or even centrist views. In the letter, she complained that on certain topics, self-censorship had become the norm at the paper. And again, I'm sure that was the case. She complained that was a case for even I remember, I think, talking to you guys ages ago when I submitted a packet for Samantha Bee, which is no longer on the air, maybe because they only encourage self-censorship. But, I said I found it really crazy, the notes on the packet, because it was basically we want political humor, but it definitely has to be fully agreeing with all democratic values. When, my thinking was, writing for a show like that, or my vision for writing a show like that was let's actually make fun of ourselves a little bit. Let's make fun of us because we know us the best. And so instead of just being this attack on Republicans, we can make fun of ourselves. And in that, maybe we can change some things and become a better party. And, that was then, now maybe they'd be singing a different tune now that everyone's all the Democrats are fucked. Maybe little Corinne Fisher's writing packet idea that she submitted was pretty good. I got to dig that up and see what I wrote, because I was very proud of that packet. And I submitted it knowing that there was no chance that they would choose it, but I did what I wanted to do, and I'm glad I did. She complained that politically sensitive pieces were treated according to a different set of rules and standards, and that they could run only after every line is carefully massaged, negotiated, and caveated. This sounds like what Weiss is doing right now, The oppressed becomes the oppressor. Some of the criticisms she's made of the Seacott story, that it doesn't have on-camera interviews with Trump officials and doesn't break enough news, sound strained, unconvincing, and unlikely to be the true reason for this high-profile last-minute intervention. Rather, Weiss saw a torrent of criticism from the right, and plausibly Trump himself headed her way, made an awkward intervention to try to prevent it from happening, and consequently created a far greater uproar. Yeah, like, again, like, who, not to be rude, because 60 Minutes certainly is an institution, but when I saw this article and this, like, breaking news, this is the first time I thought about 60 Minutes in a very long time. I feel like that they
For real?
Yeah, I feel like they have just would have let it air. It would have caused less of a stir, and now we're all going to have eyes on it.
Well, I mean,
when's the last time you actually sat down and watched? Like, when I was in high school, I used to watch like 60 Minutes and 2020 and all that kind of stuff. And I mean,
I never watched 2020 is nuts. You were a nerd if you were watching.
I
2020.
love 2020. What are you talking about? I love 2020. I love 2020.
No, dude, I would watch Andy Rooney's like disgruntled minute. That was always fun. And whatever the lead story was, it was always interesting. But it comes on right after football, you know, and like that was like, it was always the bridge, you know. It was like football's over at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. You put on 60 Minutes, and then you turn it off in time for the nighttime games. So like a lot of football watching dudes be watching 60 Minutes, and like, I don't know, the last since the new season started this fall, I've watched definitely the entire Marjorie Taylor Greene interview with them.
Okay,
I
see clips of it all the time.
I watched the entire Trump interview.
So I guess like when I would say like when I haven't thought of it, I haven't thought of like sitting down and watching an episode.
No, I'm saying like
I guess everything we watch is in clips. No. I hear what you're saying.
I caught those live.
No, I understand.
The you know, it's dinner at Alex's folks' house. You know, I'm lucky if I can sneak in a couple. All right, cool. I mean, you know, your guy's just defending pedophiles, but whatever you say. That's become very fun with the like for the talking to Fox News mom and dad. It's like, all right, dude, whatever. I guess the job of president always has been and always will be carrying water for pedophiles. Good to know.
Love to be a fly on that wall.
It's so fun. They're literally out of like answers. It just goes back to, would you rather Kamala? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like they're both carrying water for pedophiles. Doesn't matter to me.
I think at a certain level, I think anyone in the American government is, unfortunately.
Kinda.
Yeah.
They've all seen the unredacted files.
Everyone?
I mean, not all of them, but enough.
Like has AOC seen them?
Probably.
All right. Well, we're going to be wrapping up. I just want to do this, touch on this cancer story, and then we'll wrap up with some positive news for 2025 accomplishments here in this great country of ours. So this is from Fox News, why cancer is hitting the Midwest harder than anywhere else in America. This is from October 30th, but Mike did point it out as something that we should be talking about. So I went back and pulled an article. Environmental exposures to carcinogens under investigation as potential factors. If you're a farmer listening, please send us an email, withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. Mike does want to do an all farmer episode, but I feel like I would like a farmer, because that's just like a world and a life that I don't know much about. And I'd be interested to hear it directly from you. Like, what are your, issues as a farmer? I actually know there are some farmers who do listen to the show because you've written me before. While the rest of the country
There's one guy who like just runs like big farming equipment and like just plays this podcast and posts Instagram stories of it every now and then.
Oh, right. Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. But there are multiple people who work in like there's like someone who works in like the meat industry, like farming. While the they raise the cows that get murdered, for the meat industry. While the rest of the country's cancer rates are falling, those in Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Minnesota, Indiana, and Kansas, known as the Corn Belt, are rising at an alarming rate, data shows. The spike in America's corn-producing states caught the attention of the University of Iowa's Holden Comprehensive Cancer Center, which gathered a panel to investigate the trend. One of the experts, Dr. Marian Newhouser, a professor at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center in Seattle, served on the panel as an expert in nutrition and obesity. The panel came about after they noticed that the trends for cancer incidence were increasing at a faster rate in Iowa than in other states. A data analysis by the Washington Post based on federal health data sets found that the number of people diagnosed with cancer in the 6 Corn Belt states has outpaced the national average since the mid-2010s. In 1990, cancer rates in the Midwest were on par with the national average. Now, among residents ages 15 to 49, those rates are about 5% higher, a pattern that began diverging in the 2000s and has steadily widened. The Post based its findings on data from the National Cancer Institute and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which track cancer incidence nationwide. The analysis compared rates from 1999 through 2022 using multi-year averages for Iowa and excluding 2020 due to pandemic disruptions. Newhouser noted that some of the increases involve cancers that are preventable or detectable through screening. Researchers are examining both environmental and lifestyle factors that could be driving the increase. Outdoor UV exposure and high rates of binge drinking could be contributors, according to the Iowa Cancer Registry. Iowa's Environmental Health Science Research Center has described the state as a hotspot for environmental exposures to carcinogenic agents. The soil and groundwater in the region reportedly contains some of the nation's highest levels of natural radon and nitrate, largely because of fertilizer use in farming. Both substances have been linked to high risks of lung and gastrointestinal cancers. Meanwhile, the widespread application of pesticides and herbicides, including glyphosate, continues to generate debate among scientists and regulators. Risk of chemical exposure. Dr. Ann McTiernan, professor of epidemiology at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center in Seattle, has analyzed decades of research on glyphosate and cancer risk. Glyphosate, a broad-spectrum herbicide, I'm not British, has been used in the U.S. for decades and is reported to be the most widely used pesticide globally. The World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as a 2A carcinogen, probably carcinogenic to humans. That's like the description of 2A, which is the second highest grade of carcinogen, according to McTiernan. Her review of studies through 2025 found that people with long-term high exposure to glyphosate, such as those working on farms, had a roughly 40% higher risk of developing non-Hodgkin lymphoma compared to those who were never exposed. This level of increased risk, combined with lab evidence that glyphosate can damage DNA and cause cellular stress, is considered strong enough to support a causal link, according to the expert. Role of obesity and alcohol. Lifestyle factors are also compounding risk. Per CDC data, about 21% of Iowa adults report heavy drinking or binge drinking, compared to the roughly 17% nationally. The Iowa Department of Health and Human Services reports that about 35% of adults in the state are classified as obese, placing it among 19 states with obesity prevalence at or above that level. Nationwide, the CDC reports an adult obesity rate of roughly 40%. Newhouser noted that 13 separate cancers are linked to obesity. Everyone would like to be able to narrow down cancer risk to one exposure, but cancer is so complex that it's usually several factors working together, she said. All right. And so that's not great news. Again, if you live in the area, if they're doing anything in like the Corn Belt that you feel like is, trying to fix this constant increase in getting cancer. But, if farming is the industry there and glyphosate is being used, I guess someone has to think of something better to use. So maybe that could be you, listener. But on a positive note, yes, there was a positive story in Vox about good things and positive achievements that happened in 2025. And I wanted to end the episode on that so that you can enjoy the rest of your Christmas Eve with your family, your loved ones, or by yourself, And if you're by yourself and you don't want to be, I'm with you, and I'm with you here through Without a Country. But if you're by yourself and you want to be, hell yeah, that's a Corinne Christmas. That's a Corinne miss. Vox 2025 felt like a disaster, but the numbers tell a very different story. From a CRISPR baby to a closing ozone hole, 5 actually good things from 2025. 2025 is just about in the books, and the reviews are in. It sucked. I feel like we've been saying that every year. I mean, there's
Dating
still
back to 2016.
There's still a couple years left, but I had some good years in that chunk of time since 2016. A lot of bad ones, but some good ones. But 2025, I was talking about it on Guys We Fuck today. I think it was, I'm really proud of this year for me. I had a good year, and even though things, everything didn't go the way I wanted to, I think it is going to end up being one of the most memorable years of my life. I mean, I ran for fucking mayor. How can it not be? But, turning 40 and traveling to Japan and spent the entire year in a good relationship. I mean, a lot of good stuff. How was your 2025?
Incredible. I mean, I got married.
Oh my God! Right, I
Went to Italy.
I can't even believe that was this year.
Yeah, I had my year was lit.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, good. I'm happy for you. Over at the subreddit r/decadeology, you can check out a long thread of Redditors submitting reasons why 2025 was, in the words of the first post, a long, disappointing year. War in Gaza, vibe sessions, chaos in the White House, growing AI fears, scientists slashed, anti-vaccination on the rise. It looks like someone took Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire" and asked a large language model to update the lyrics. I mean, The Economist's word of the year for 2025 was slop, as in the content slop, much of it AI generated, that has spread across the internet like black mold. That is not the sign of a good year. And I got to be honest, you guys know I was doing Corinne Miss 25 straight days of content, and it's breaking my brain 100%. No one should be on their phone as much as I've had to be on my phone these past 25 days. It's like I feel the mental decline vividly. And what I've also noticed is I have really noticed that not just AI generated stuff, but just misinformation, and then things will trend especially on my algorithm, certain health things, a couple months ago, oil pulling was, trending. And then it's dry brushing. Guys, please look into this stuff before you just spend a ton of money and start doing these things. Most of these things have little to no research done on them. And it is just the amount of money that faux wellness is making off of you, especially young women, or youngish women, is driving me nuts. Talk to an actual doctor, have some kind, there are accounts where people with, who aren't just influencers, but who actually have some sort of a degree are talking about these things. Look it up, do some research on your own. Again, most of these things, because I look up every single one, because I'm I love wellness. And most of this shit that you guys are oh, this is something. No, it's not. You've convinced yourself it's something. There's no data to back up any of this. And drives me crazy. But here at Good News HQ, i.e. my kid's bedroom in Brooklyn, we like to look at the bright side. And amid all of this dispiriting slop, 2025 had more than its share of genuinely positive stories and trends. Here are some of the best. Number 1, the CRISPR baby. Last August, a baby named KJ Muldoon was born with a severe carbamoyl phosphate synthetase 1 deficiency, an ultra-rare genetic disorder that prevents the liver from clearing ammonia. The condition is the result of mutations in a single gene, and it is effectively a death sentence. Half of all babies born with the disorder die in infancy. But KJ's doctors at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia came up with a potential solution. Fix the single incorrect DNA letter among the 3 billion in his genome using the gene editing technology CRISPR. Researchers at CHOP and University of California, Berkeley's innovative Genomics Institute, as well as other institutions, developed in just 6 months a personalized in vivo base editing therapy that could go into KJ's body and correct that one fatal genetic error. That is so cool. In February of this year, after the team received an emergency authorization from the FDA, KJ received his first infusion of the CRISPR therapy. By April, he was showing improvement, and by June, After 307 days in the hospital, he was discharged, the first person ever healed with a personalized gene therapy. This story is obviously the best of the news for KJ and his parents, the best news for KJ and his parents, but it goes far beyond them. More than 30 million people in the U.S. alone suffer from one of 7,000 rare genetic diseases so rare that no company would develop a gene therapy just for them. But KJ's treatment shows that it is becoming feasible to rapidly develop personalized treatments without going through years of expensive testing. That's an enormous gift for countless patients too often left behind by drug companies, and it shows how CRISPR means we can finally have some say in our genetic features, in the words of the molecular biologist David Liu. As for KJ, while he will still require lifelong monitoring, he's doing great. He just took his first steps. And there's a picture of him, and he's walking by a Christmas tree, and we're all so happy. That is so cool. Like, that's why, like, I can never be, like, anti-technology, because technology gives us gifts like that. Like, it's so, so cool. Number 2, the bad trends are...
I remember about a decade ago, I found out about what CRISPR was.
Uh-huh.
It was a little bit more now, maybe like 11, 12 years ago, but I remember texting my girlfriend at the time being like, it's over. Like, the whole thing is over. The whole thing is pointless. The rich are going to be able to custom designer babies. Like, we're literally entering Gattaca, dude.
Negative, though.
What?
That's only thinking of negative. You weren't thinking of baby KJ.
I wasn't thinking of baby KJ. This is actually the coolest thing.
That's so sick. I love that story.
No, I love when something that seems very evil and ominous, like, just helps people. It's like, this can only happen for so long before it gets...
Well, that's the thing. I mean, to Bernie Sanders' point on AI, it's not that these developments are inherently evil. It's that they fall into the hands of people who are evil.
Fair enough.
And that's how I feel. I don't think AI is evil. I think it's in the hands of evil people. And I think that's an important distinction. The bad trends are falling. For a year that often felt apocalyptic in the feeds, a strange phenomenon flew under the radar. A lot of the worst numbers in American life started moving in the right direction. Across 42 big cities, homicides fell about 17%. I think that's mostly thanks to the mayor of Baltimore single-handedly doing that. Fell about 17% in the first half of the year compared with 2024. And most other serious violent crimes were down too. Many places are now hovering around or below their pre-pandemic homicide levels. Drug overdose deaths, which peaked at roughly 110,000 in 2023, dropped to about 80,000 in 2024. That's a nice drop, nearly a 27% decline, and the sharpest one-year fall the CDC has ever recorded. And after years of grinding upward, the U.S. suicide rate ticked down slightly in 2024 to about 48,800 deaths. On the roads, motor vehicle deaths, which spiked during the pandemic, have now fallen for several years in a row. The government now estimates about 39,000 traffic deaths in 2024, down from roughly 41,000 in 2023. Early 2025 projections show another 8% decline in the first half of the year, even as Americans drive more miles. So why doesn't it feel like everything bad is falling? Partly because we're coming down from brutal pandemic era highs. 80,000 overdose deaths and double-digit homicide declines are good news, only in a very specific context. But the hopeful read is that 2025 isn't just a regression to the mean, but the beginning of a long-term decline in everything bad. 3, we're losing weight and drinking less. And those are definitely related, I mean, for me at least. If you wanted to tell a story about America's health in the 2020s, you could do a lot worse than this. We're drinking less, and for the first time in a long time, we're a little less heavy. On the booze side, Gallup now finds just 54% of Americans say they drink alcohol at all, the lowest share since the question was first asked in 1939. Among those who do drink, frequency is down and per capita alcohol consumption has edged lower since the 1980s. Teen drinking has fallen even faster. The share of 12th graders who say they drink has dropped from about 3 in 4 in the late 90s to roughly 2 in 5 today, with similar collapse for 10th and 8th graders. At the same time, one of America's most stubborn health crises may finally be bending. After years of steady increases, Gallup's National Health and Well-Being Index shows self-reported adult obesity falling from about 40% in 2022 to 37% in 2025. The best explanation isn't a miracle diet or a national love affair with salads. It's, we all know, the rapid uptake of GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy, which calm hunger signals in the brain and help many patients lose 15 to 20% of their body weight, with knock-on benefits for diabetes and heart disease. None of this eliminates obesity or alcohol harms overnight, but both curves, for once, are pointing in the right direction. I saw some interview the other day. And again, it was something I just scrolled past, but it was with a doctor who was basically hailing GLP-1s as like one of the most important medical inventions like the world has ever seen. He was, and I definitely agree with that because, you know, we talked on this show and, you know, many times before because, you know, we lived through body positivity and then neutrality and then whatever it was, where we had basically went through a period of time when you know, people were trying to convince themselves that it was, you know, if you're fat and you love it, you're a bad bitch and you're just curvy. Like morbidly obese people were calling themselves curvy. Nothing drives me madder. And again, I've said this 1,000 times before. It's not like you're a bad person if you're overweight. Of course not. Like we all have our shit that we go through. I've been overweight. Like it's a constant struggle for me. Like for sure. But it was, I thought, so damaging to a country that already, I think, is really effed up about how we take care of ourselves, the food we consume, you know, how we treat our bodies in many ways, that we convinced ourselves that like being fat wasn't like the fucking number one killer. Certainly of, you know, related to deaths in, you know, men, people of color, like that kind of thing. Again, we look at it's, this is not made up fat things. You can just go to the CDC website. You can see all this information. You know, all these heart-related issues. What do you think could help that? Eating better and losing the weight. 4, we're closing the ozone hole. For kids who grew up in the 1980s like me, the big environmental fear wasn't climate change. It was the ozone hole. Thanks primarily to fluorocarbons, CFCs, humans tore a hole in the layer of the atmosphere that protects life from harmful UV rays. Unlike most environmental threats, it was easily visible, a big black blob over Antarctica that seemed as if it would swallow the globe. Yet 40 years after the world signed the Montreal Protocol to phase out ozone-eating chemicals, the ozone layer is measurably on the mend. In 2025, European and U.S. scientists say the Antarctic zone hole was the smallest since 2019 and the 5th smallest since 1992. Meanwhile, nearly 99% of banned ozone-depleting substances have already been phased out. The long-term forecast is even brighter. If countries keep complying with the treaty, experts expect the ozone layer over most of the world to return to 1980 levels by around 2040, with the Arctic following by about 2045, and even the notoriously damaged Antarctic ozone hole healing by roughly 2066. Phasing out these chemicals has also avoided an extra 0.5 to 1 degree Celsius of global warming that would otherwise have been baked in. The big story is as simple as it is rare. When it comes to the environment, the world passed a binding treaty, stuck with it, and actually managed to fix the problem. So the environment is like your lungs, like when you're smoking, like you do bad stuff to your lungs, but then you quit and your lungs can actually heal, similar to the environment. So that is good news. And the last thing, it's not 536 AD. I'll let you in on a little secret.
Oh, come on.
What?
They're just, all right, forget it.
All right.
This is hack. For history heads, this is hack.
Okay. I didn't know that. Sorry, I didn't know that I was podcasting with a history head here. I'll let you in on a little secret about good news. The surest way to feel optimistic about the state of the world is often less about how good the present is than how bad, how terribly, unimaginably bad most of the past was. And few years in the past were worse than 536 AD, the year Science magazine once memorably called the worst year to be alive. alive. What was so bad about it? Well, a fog plunged Europe, the Middle East, and even parts of Asia into a noontime darkness for 18 months. I mean, this is a stretch, though, when we have to compare it to 536 AD. Average temperatures in the summer fell by as much as 2.5 degrees Celsius, beginning what would become the coldest decade of the past 2,300 years. Harvests failed across much of the world, leading to widespread starvation. And the scene was set for the plague of Justinian, an outbreak of bubonic plague that began in Egypt and ultimately killed 1/3 to 1/2 of the population of the Eastern Roman Empire. Scientists now believe the immediate culprit was a huge volcanic eruption in Iceland in 536 that spread sun-blocking ash across the northern hemisphere. That eruption was accompanied by 2 more over the next 11 years, which really put the dark ages. The economic stagnation that followed didn't lift for a century. So yeah, however bad you think 2025 was, I can tell you that 536 AD was way, way worse. But really, that's true of nearly all the years of the past when humans were poorer, less free, were more subject to violence, died sooner, and generally had to endure lives that were solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, in the words of Thomas Hobbes. So raise a non-alcoholic based on trends, toast to 2025. It could have been much, much worse. I hate when people say that. Like when you have for all of you guys who had a bad 2025, I am sorry it sucked. And I hate when people be like, it could be worse or it's going to be worse. If this was the worst year of your life, man, that sucks. And I'm so sorry to hear that because I recently had, what was up until, at that time, the worst year of my life. Knowing life, there'll probably be worse ones. But thoughts and prayers, but like meaningful ones, because that fucking blows. Mike, why did that last one offend you? Just because why would it offend you as a history head?
No, it's like, hey, this year's rough, but at least it's not, I don't know, man, like it's like doing a street, like this whole article is like, these are cool things that happened in 2025, and a lot of them are cool, right? Like the GLP-1 thing, I thought that was one of the most mind-blowing things, like seeing that at in real time at Skankfest this year with like the actual, generally speaking, the fattest people on the planet, right? Like,
I was wondering what you were getting at there.
No, it's like, I mean, when we put in the orders for shirts and everything, like it's like you need a lot of 2 and 3Xs. That's what was going the quickest.
It's life changing, and also like to speak to that group of people. It's not like that, that they're just lazy or whatever. A lot of times it's just like working class people who are working hard and can't afford really expensive meals or have to eat a lot of fast food. Like it's completely classist. So if you have a GLP-1 that ends up being affordable for everyone, well, it's like the rich have had tricks like this for forever. So now let's make this available to everybody, and it will save lives.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it will improve the quality of life for those people as well.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems to be improving the quality of life, whether or not it's actually good long term to be,
of course,
feeding your body that much insulin. Who knows?
TBD, we do not know exactly.
Right. Like, so I mean, I don't know. As somebody who fluctuates in weight the old-fashioned way, it was shock. It was just shocking to me how many people like were ordering large and mediums, where the only thing I had left at the end of this year was like 3Xs versus like last year, like I had barrels and crates of mediums and larges.
Wow.
And it's like it that blew me away in real time. I mean, closing the ozone hole, that's great. The drinking less is very cool. The homicide rate being down, the CRISPR, like all those are such good things. The fact that you had to revert to like a street joke for your fifth thing.
I like it's Vox, so to me it was less of a street joke and more like Brian Walsh wanting to be like, I know everything about 536 AD. I'm so smart.
Right.
I write for Vox.
Yeah, there was a volcanic explosion over Iceland that fucked up the world for everyone that year, and
because I had no idea what had happened.
The Roman emperor at the time was a dickhead.
Yeah, I was not familiar with the happenings of 536 AD. I'm just gonna come out and say that.
Chris Wood did a very funny comedian out of Philadelphia had a good podcast called Oral Presentation. He did a whole like hour and a half on 536. So it's like that one sticks out in my mind. It's a Jeopardy answer a lot of the time. It's just one of those like, you know, very surface level, like, hey, check out this cool thing that I know.
Right.
It's like lame. You writing this from your kid's bedroom in Brooklyn?
Ooh,
lame.
I tried to gloss over that because I wanted to enjoy the article, but that did annoy me.
Come on.
All right, but you know, I think we wanted some positive, so overall positive. All right, guys, that is our episode for today. A reminder to make sure to
What would be your fifth?
My fifth?
Yeah, what's the coolest thing you saw this year? Sorry, that's the thing where it's like
Trying to think.
that's what frustrates me. It's like, oh, 536. Like, no, okay. Like there has to have been a fifth cool thing.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Off the top of my head,
Luigi Mangione.
no, that's not mine. That's many women's. That's not me. I mean, P. Diddy getting arrested. That happened this year, right? The doc came out this year. When was the actual arrest?
Yeah, Diddy getting charged. No, the
charge
arrest was not this year, but
right,
like
the charge.
Yeah, getting found guilty.
Yeah. I mean, I also think like you could have included, I mean, this is very New York centric, but something like, you know, Zohran's winning the election, I mean, I think was a pretty big deal. You
I
know,
like that.
Something like that when you talk about like when you're really going to change the future and we're seeing a new precedent in politics where kind of not everyday people, but not these establishment politicians. I think for a while we had maybe thought that AOC was just going to be a once in a lifetime thing. And now we think that we can really create a pattern, which you see in so many young people without history in politics, running for Congress.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
I got mine. The Japanese researchers at Kyoto University are leading groundbreaking clinical trials for a drug that can regrow teeth by targeting the USAG1 protein that inhibits tooth growth, potentially offering a natural solution for missing teeth by 2030. Initially for congenital cases, but later for injury or decay, the experimental IV drug TRG-035 works by blocking this protein to reactivate dormant tooth buds, showing promise in animal studies and moving to human trials for safety and efficacy. So that's my big thing. By 2030, I might be able to get my teeth fixed, which I'm so hyped on. And I think the Japanese are like, I'm really hoping we don't have some kind of massive stock market crash between now and 2030 that like cuts off all funding for this research, because I'm banking on it. But man, dude, cool stuff being done by the Japanese. That's all I'm going to say. That's my cool thing of 2025.
Well, and speaking of this, I mean, this isn't like that one of the wouldn't be top 5 things that happened, but it could be like a top invention. So this woman invented a spoon for people to lower your salt intake, and it's like a $250. It is available now, and basically, you can have like bland rice and chicken. You don't salt it, and when you eat it with this particular spoon, the spoon makes it taste salty, and you don't have to add salt, and it's like amazing for people's health because we're consuming too much salt. So wait, what is this? Japanese.
Yo, straight up
spoon. I wanted to get one. Like I might get one for a gift for somebody. Yeah, it's by Kieran.
So much salt.
My dad used to. Was your dad a smoker, or is your dad a smoker?
He was a smoker a long time ago. He quit.
Oh, because I was like, my dad was a smoker, and I think like it just kills your taste buds. And he used to salt. Like he salted like canned soup, like pizza. You're like, what? These are things that do not need salt.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a salt girl. Yeah, I love salt.
He will literally sit there with a fork and knife and like put the knife down, pick up the fork, and salt each individual piece before he puts it into his mouth.
I get it.
It's sinful.
Yeah, it works, uses a mild electric current to intensify the perception of saltiness in food, allowing people to reduce sodium intake while maintaining flavor. It works by driving sodium ions to the tongue, making low sodium food taste saltier. And it was designed to help combat Japan's high average salt consumption. So cool. Love them.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it because straight up, I will buy that for my dad for Christmas this year.
Yeah, no, I know. I was actually trying to get it's by Kieran. If you do Kieran Salt Spoon, and I think it's about $250 is how much it is. Because it's really new. That's why I think the price will go down once they sell more. But that's any time like technology is super new. But apparently it's great.
$170. I'm buying this.
You found it for 170? What is it, used on eBay? All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for spending the year with me and Mike. We will do one more episode, obviously, before the end of the year because there is one more Wednesday in 2025. But have a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate, and make sure to get that Without a Country merch. December 24th, today, when you're watching this, is the last day that you will be able to pre-order the Without a Country merch. So make sure to get that. And of course, get your tickets to Corinne Fisher's Morbid New Year's Eve, December 31st, New York Comedy Club, East Village. Incredible lineup, 6 p.m. Crowd work heavy show, but we'll be doing some jokes too. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you there. Thank you so much. And ask your relatives, where is Shelly Miscavige? Bye.
Running from the man, yeah, the madman's coming, yeah, the man's gunning for me tonight.